This is important, yeah. Okay, so I was thinking, how do I get a lot of people to join this session? I said, I was saying, okay, what should be the title, right? So I said, what's the biggest buzzword that is currently going on? It's agentic. So let me add that. The session would be full, and I think I'm correct. All right, so, okay, so we'll talk about, I think the introduction was fairly correct. I talked to so many customers, and all of them have built so many POCs. All are sitting as POCs, and they're wondering how do I take it to production. And this is a challenge that we see again and again. So hopefully we'll try to see if we can cover that. Okay, that's me. So I had digital platform and engineering for Mindsprint. I'm passionate about using AI for platform engineering and using platform engineering for AI. It's a mouthful, but we'll focus on platform engineering for AI today. AI for platform engineering would be some other topic. So how many of you are using AI? I think some of the questions are there. How many of you are using AI in general? How many of you folks are from AI background? Okay, that's a lot. Good. And how many of you folks have used Gen AI, Agentic AI in any of your things? Awesome. And how many of you have taken that to production? Good. If all of you raised your hand, then I would walk out. I have nothing to do in this session, right? So, cool. All right, so I don't need to say this, but right now we are here. So last year Gen AI was there, this year Agentic AI is here. I think the slope is still the same. So there's a lot of buzz, right? Almost every customer I talk about is talking about, hey, I'm building some POC. Why? Because LangChain and all, you write 5 lines of code, you can get something out, right? It's not that complex anymore. Okay, and almost everyone, right? And they say, okay, I don't even need anyone. My team can build it, okay? But, and these are not my data. This is data if you can search on the internet, right? 90% are stuck in POC mode, okay? 26% just have capabilities that can support from POC to production, okay? So the plumbing required to move it to production, only 26% have it. 40%, this is I think a McKinsey number, I think. This is 40% of Agentic AI projects will be cancelled because people went Agentic without knowing why they need Agentic. Okay, so these are actual numbers and these are actual problems on the ground. Okay, so a lot of orgs are stuck in pilot purgatory, right? It's cool stuff, you build it, goes to a shelf, and that's it, right? Now, that is what I'm here to talk about. Why? Why between POC to production, a lot of POC fall into the valley of death? How can we reduce friction? And that is where platforms come, like to reduce friction, right? And before I go ahead, I want to also explain my definition of platform, because if you ask 5 people, what does a platform mean? You will get 5 answers. All are right, all could be wrong, but I'm talking my definition, right? So for me, it accelerates, it's a technical foundation that accelerates value delivery for tech and business. Very simple. Okay, it's a tech foundation, right? In my own company, a lot of people don't agree with my definition, so that's fine, no problem. So Agentic AI needs something to accelerate to production. Okay, so what would that be, right? And the whole goal is, instead of spending weeks and months of production readiness and all that, how we can, your POC is fast, but how can you use the same speed to take it to production without the fear of taking to production? Okay, so that's the third part, right? Okay, so let's start the first part. Why do you think POC don't see the light of the day, right? So the first part is agent first thinking. So I don't know the number of times I've spoken to people who said ki kuch agentic karna hai. Okay, the idea is that I don't need to solve a problem, I want to do something agentic. Okay, and it's like right now agentic is a hammer that is looking for a nail, and you just, even if something normal ML works, in some cases normal rule engine works, but it has to be agentic. Okay, real world variability. I don't know how many people have you tried a RAG use case, but you go beyond 5 documents or 10, 20, it doesn't work. Okay, agentic RAG better, but still not better. Okay, so when POC data changes and real world data comes, these things again doesn't work, right? Then scalability. So once, I'm not going to solve these problems for you, okay? These are you and your business have to solve the problem, bigger problems. Now you have something that works well. Now you think, okay, I have to take it to production. So I'm going to help you, how do you scale it, right? So pilots can't handle enterprise workload. What you run on a laptop, if you have 100 TPS coming on that agent, your Python agent is going to die. Right? How's that going to work? Governance, okay. It's not just taking the agent to production. You have a lot of plumbing that needs to be done. Security, ethics, observability, FinOps. There's so many things to be done. And the problem what happens is a lot of things get stuck there because it becomes every problem of every project and every agent. Because there is no foundation to solve that, okay? Okay, so imagine you build this cool agent. Is this amazing super duper agent you have built? Okay, now you say, okay, I want to take it to production. Okay, simple. So what do you need to take it to production? Okay, first, you have used vector database, you run ChromaDB and FastDB and all that running on memory, awesome. Now you want to connect to an enterprise grade vector database. I don't know how many people have set up enterprise grade vector databases, right? You have to think about that. Most of them are using GraphRag and all that, which requires knowledge graphs, Neo4j, again enterprise grade. So you need to have the foundation ready. As soon as you go away from Docker Compose and production, you have to solve that. You have to scale to support high volume transaction. So much of TPS is coming, how your agents are going to get deployed. Integrate with business system. Agent in isolation is of no use. It's a POC. How do you integrate with this? Access cache. If you want to do performance, you have cache. In microservices world, you have cache. In agent world, you have semantic caches and other things, so you have to think about that. Again, you don't want to solve it at an agent level. At an org level, you have to provide it somehow. You have to keep track of tokens. Okay, you will get a bill shock if you don't keep track of tokens, right? Again, agentic karna hai, but then that problem happens because there's a lot of cost that comes when these things start using production. Logs, metrics, traceability, because finally you need to know what the agent is up to. Okay, real world data is coming. If agent is giving some bad words or something, you need to understand. Okay, so that needs to be there, and you have to connect it to an enterprise grade observability platform. All of you have one, but if it's its own separate observability, it doesn't help. You have to deploy it in secure manner. Again, the ops for test ops for agents are different. So you have your PyTest and other things, but you also have to look at evaluation frameworks. Agents by nature are non-deterministic. Your answers are not the same, especially if you have this, right? So how do you validate the answer? So you have to have test ops around it. You have to use some evaluation tools. Again, on the pipeline, right? You have to build those things. You have to discover an interface with other agents. Again, there are A2A protocols and many things are there, but you have to think about that. You have to provide, and again, I want to add, you can do agent to agent within memory like LangGraph, but agent to agent across processes is a different problem. Provide secure access to many features, and you have to get metered access to LLM. So you don't want, how do you ensure that somebody is not eating up all your tokens of your enterprise ChatGPT? Right? Because you have to ensure how this team can only use this many tokens and this team cannot use this many tokens. So you have to metered access around this, like, right? And finally, you have to protect your users and enterprise from content, right? Using guardrails. Okay, so again, what is the agent behaving itself, right? What is it saying? What is it receiving? So those things, right? Okay, so that's where platform engineering hopefully will come to the rescue. So again, we have tried to build a tech foundation that helps you do this quicker. So the focus is, business is focused on getting the agent out and not worry about the plumbing required to take the agent out. Okay, so you have to abstract the common concerns away into a platform. So your DevOps team, your platform engineering team focuses on building the thing, and you have to drive governance, right? So this is our thought process around it. If anybody has built traditional AI and Gen AI, there is a big difference. Data scientists were making a lot of money 5 years back, right? Because data science, ML, machine learning, you have Jupyter notebooks and all that, right? Gen AI doesn't need that. It's become a software engineering problem. So yay to software engineers, right? So now the principle that apply to software engineering can be applied here. The microservices thinking that we are thinking about how do you deploy microservices at scale can be applied here. And the same concept applies because it's just Python code or Node.js code or whatever you're building. So this is, again, we have a platform but called Mindsprint, but the idea is the same, right? So how do you build a platform that helps you abstract all these things together? And what I've done is I've put bits and pieces of components of what is required. By the way, more is coming, so please don't click. Otherwise, you have half a platform. Okay, so so you have one agent. They are nicely talking to each other using whatever. REST works, gRPC works, A2A works. You can use events in a Kafka or something that works. Agent left works on PG vector, happy. Agent 1 looks like knowledge graph, again happy, right? So now you have to say that, okay, how do I scale it? So first you need something like a workload orchestrator. Anything that works, Nomad, Kubernetes, whatever works, you can use that OpenShift. But we are using Kubernetes. And again, this is for pod to pod, yeah? Because LangGraph and all that, it is within memory, you don't need this. But if you're doing pod to pod, you would need something. Okay? And again, agents can talk to other microservices as well. So you need to take this as an enterprise knowledge base. So you have to run it as a separate concern, right? So you need to manage that separately. So your platform should support how PG Vector is enterprise grade so that people can use it. You have to support how Neo4j is enterprise grade so that they can use it, and any other stores that you may have around it, right? So you have to think about that. Your LLMs, right? How do you have governed LLMs, right? So we ourselves use Claude and OpenAI a lot within, and I think sometimes Gemini, but predominantly Claude and OpenAI, right? How do I ensure that they are being metered well and governed well? So you need to have a allowed LLM catalog, right? Even a fine-tuned LLMs will have to go and sit in your catalog, right? You need to have an agent catalog. You have 50 agents, 5 agents, 6 agents, you need to have a catalog. Purpose of the agent, need for the agent. Again, I'm very careful about using the word catalog and not a marketplace. I still am not sure how marketplaces work in agent. People will sell, but I'm talking catalog. And tools catalog, right? MCP or this, you need a tools catalog because the same tools can be used on multiple agents, right? How do you discover those tools? So again, there are tools like you need to have, there are tools like Light LLM and other things which provide the kind of proxy required to govern how agent communications, how LLMs are accessed, right? You can put those metering around it and all that. And to connect to, and if you have MCP, you may have to connect to your enterprise apps and all that, so you can do that. Then if you look on the other side, on that, now you have Kubernetes. Anybody who's done with Kubernetes has to have pipelines. You can use your standard pipelines, but you also have to think about your evaluation frameworks. So there are tools like TrueLens, which provides evals. OPIC provides evals. Some of them are free, some of them are commercial. You have to pick up based on your choice. We are using TrueLens. PyTest, the standard PyTest works. Developer productivity, I think Roopa before talked about developer productivity. So you could do your, so this platform itself could be part of your Backstage or some sort of a platform engineering that you have. You can extend. IDP like Backstage is not built for AI use cases, but you could extend it to build something like that. And then Ragas, again, if you're using RAG, you need some frame like Ragas too, but it has to be in the pipeline, right? You have to eval that. Then integration and service orchestration. Again, this is agent to agent communication. So you need, again, so the amount of conversation we have as to what to use is again a big debate in the company, right? Which to use, and again we fight because everybody has their preferences. Okay, so we have standardized, but up to people, right? So N8N works well if you're doing workflow orchestration, and if you want event orchestration, you need something like a Kafka or Red Panda or whatever you want to use, right? Where did that? Okay, semantic caching, again very important, especially if you want to control your token usage, because the same comes again, you can have semantic caching to get the data. Observability. So this is very important because a lot of FinOps and all that happens through this thing, right? So you have agent observability and you have enterprise observability. Agent observability will be tools like Helicon or OPIC, and enterprise observability will be using that they all are OTel compliant now, by the way. If you don't know, it's OTel compliant, so they push it to enterprise platforms. Okay, and again, it could be any observability platform. Yeah, you can use, right? It doesn't matter. Finally, agent security, right? You want your policy as code or role-based access. So again, Casbin, and you could use and Keycloak. And finally, okay, the next thing is chatbot framework, right? For whatever reason, of course, agents are not just chatbots, but somehow most of the first use cases I've seen are chatbots. Okay, and people build the front end, the UI, and all that again. Ideally, I would recommend decide on a chatbot framework. Because chatbot framework is not just chat. Chatbot framework is also about connecting to Line, Telegram, WhatsApp, and all that in the future. So you need to have future-proof your chatbot framework so that you don't need to solve this problem again and again. Again, this allows the governance, because in my own team, people are fighting on two things, right? Somebody wants bot framework, somebody wants N8N, but you have to define top-down saying this is what you're going to use for. Do your assessment, put that. Again, this is my recommendation. There are many tools out there. If you're ready to pay, there are other tools also that are available. Okay, just an example of a screenshot of few of the apps, the platform that we use. So this is around how the templates are, like you have agent templates and how agent templates can be used. You just press a button, you can create an agent. then it pushes to a Kubernetes cluster, so you can see the deployments and all that through the platform itself. You can see, this is built on my laptop, so I generated a poem generating agent and a probe object. So, but that's okay, ignore that. But again, the idea is agents are not that simple. So you don't click and build an agent, but you start an agent, get a template created, and then you can modify it. It will go to Git, and then you put the pipeline and do that, right? And finally, what all things is a platform abstracting? See, I put big boxes, but each box has a lot of meaning behind it. Okay, so you can use agents to build other agents. Again, we have an agent pipeline to build other agents, right? So each agent, so you have an agent template defined, and that agent take the template and add more and more features till you have a production ready agent that can be put to Git, and then you modify the code, right? So you can generate the base code. You can select your constraints, and your safety mechanisms can be injected. So you have your standard templates with guardrails and all built in, so that you can have logs, monitoring hooks, so OPIC and all that, whatever you need to add as a thing can be added. You can add your plugins around database accesses, MCP, and whatever you need to wire to get your agent. So you have your template ready through this, and you add your test cases, and finally you combine and validate, and if it works, fine, right? So you could do that also. Again, there are two ways to do that. We tried both. This works better, but you could just use templates and then use AI to build an agent out of the template. Works most of the cases, but in some cases this works better. And a very simple, okay, a DevOps, I think most of you know this is a standard DevOps pipeline, nothing special, except few areas where the agent elements comes in, right? So you need to have agent testing where your safety, compliance, LLM testing, and all those things have to be there. You will have agent lifecycle management, so you need to add those stages in your pipeline to support that around workflow management, prompt caching, and you also have to look at observability auditing and monitoring on the other end, which is your agent compliance, your LLM response, agent cost, because most of these tools like Helicon and OPIC will provide you agent cost, how many tokens are getting consumed and all that, so you need to put that and track it, right? Other part of the pipeline is the same. And finally, okay, so I'm on time, okay. So just to summarize what I spoke over the last 20 odd minutes, right? So we all know there's a problem that things are not going to production. And of course, assuming that you are happy with your agent and you think it solves the problem and it requires you to be an agent, then we need to look at the value to business should be at the center. And cost of usage is also important. You don't want to use agents if it's not needed, but once that's defined, then you can apply microservice thinking, which is a fairly well-tested thing for a while. You can apply the same logic. I think sometimes we overcomplicate things. Patterns that work in the past can work in the future. You need a platform to reduce engineering friction. Again, this UI and all is fanciness, but even just the CLI based tool and the tooling is enough, right? I think the front end and all that is later, right? But you need the tooling around it that supports to do that. And you have to integrate FinOps. So not just observability, but you have to integrate FinOps also because that's one of the biggest costs that comes and hits you later, right? I think that's about it. Thank you so much.
Let's have some questions. Yeah. Mic there, please.
Hi, I'm Nageshwar Rao, Director in CGI for AI Initiatives. Problem is real and the solution works well. Could you share this slide somewhere?
Just hold mic to you. Don't start morning.
Can you share the slides?
Can I share the slides?
If you're okay with it.
Okay, I'll think about it, but okay.
Messaging.
You have taken a lot of pictures, so I can't stop you from that.
Messaging is.
Okay.
Okay, mic there, please.
This is Deepak here. Good afternoon. This reminds me of those shortcuts, math shortcuts you used to learn, right? 25
Hold
squares.
your mic closer.
So we all learn math shortcuts, but to apply it, you used to always go to the rough and just validate whatever I'm doing right is wrong, right? I find myself in the same space where we have built something, but we are not sure when it will break and for what data it will break. How do you validate the confidence score, or how do you test the output of an agent in that it will do what it is intended to do in all use cases? What are the different test strategies?
Yeah, so I'll be very honest to say all use cases are very hard problem to solve because it also says you can get a decent thing out with a lot of evaluation frameworks and all that added to your pipeline, right? So there are, I think I remember a tool called prompt foo and prompt tools or something that you can check on what the underlying LLM does, and you can talk about the prompts that run on your LLM to see whether you can do any kind of injection and prompt injection and all that. So you can put that. So there are tools like where you can add that, okay, this, like let's say if you're using a RAG kind of framework or agentic RAG, and it's dipping it into a database and getting the answer, right? You have to spend some time to say that this is the kind of answer I'm looking for. So you have to build a lot of test cases around it to solve. But trust me, even Microsoft struggles to get the agent to behave, right? Because the underlying possible scenarios or negative scenarios are so many, right? So you have to think through a lot of this. The tools are there. Okay, I'm not saying the tools are not there, but I don't think any tool is going to build your test cases for you. Okay, so that scenarios you have to think about and building it.
Okay, one last question. In the first row here.
This question might be naive, but how, once you have deployed an assistant or an agent for a use case, how often do you go back and check or recheck the reliability of it?
That's the observability part. So if you see, I don't know if you tried Helicon or any OPIC or something, right? It will have like, okay, this is the prompt, this is the answer, this is the prompt, this is the answer. So all the interactions that the agent has had, you will get a dump of it. So you can take the dump out and you can do your analysis on it.
Because once you do it for over a month, right? So at least
no, you have to, like, even if you have done ML ops in your past, right? Like if you done ML ops, you have you check for agent drift and all those things, even in traditional ML. So even in this call also, when you put your agent, you have your observability defined on your agent, saying that, okay, what is the agent doing in real production? And you have to have like any even let's say you do a microservices, just forget about agents, right? If you do a microservices, you look at your logs, your metrics, your traces and all that. You have your support team looking at all this thing to see is your services behaving, are you getting latency errors, are you getting your 500 errors and all that. Same thing you have to observe your agents to do the same process applies there. Just the data that you're going to look would be slightly different.
It's not operational, it's qualitative, so that's where I think.
Yeah.
Okay, got it, thanks.
What an exciting session.
And by
Let's
the way,
have a round of applause.
qualitative also you can manage by using another agent to look at the, yeah, you can. I mean, there are many ways, but I can't solve all the problems on the fly, but you can.